Hey, Stacey David here with the Tales of a Gearhead podcast. Now, what is this? Well, it's a podcast that covers everything automotive, everything mechanical, everything that's just cool about the automotive lifestyle. And since that's just about everything, you're going to love it.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Cornwell Tools.
Let's get rolling. All right, welcome to the podcast. I have a guest here that you're going to love. His name is Ben Smithson, and he owns SMITHSON Speed Engineering in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And they are a premier hot rod shop. And, you know, Ben's been building stuff for several years, very high quality things. And the good thing about this conversation that we're going to have is he's a young guy, and he's building high quality hot rods and muscle cars and resto rods. And he's somebody that if you've ever thought about doing something like this, opening your own shop, you're going to love this conversation because there's a lot more to it than just going out and turning wrenches. So, Ben, welcome to the podcast, man.
Yes, Stacey, I appreciate you having me. As we kind of talked earlier, I was just like, I remember growing up watching you on trucks, and it's wild being here on this podcast with you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's also been a wild ride getting the shop up and going. You know, started it in 2019, and that was a wild ride with COVID and all those.
Yeah, you started it right in COVID. What was wrong with you, man?
Yeah, I didn't have that forecast to see that all that was going to happen when we went full time. But it was.
Was it rough at first?
You know, it was more mentally rough because I was scared. Everything was happening, but luckily we have great clients, and honestly, it picked up for us. But I don't know if people had been sitting around.
They were, and they had money.
Yeah, and I've got these cars. It's been sitting in my garage for years. It's time to do something with this. But I mean, it blew up for us. I had to hire folks to come help, and it was wild. But no, luckily, COVID did all right for us. Most of our vendors as well. The biggest thing that kind of, I guess, hindered us would be lead time on supply chain stuff.
Yeah, the supply chain stuff was difficult.
But that's recovered. We kind of had to pivot and figure that out, so I actually added on to my shop. I added a wing onto my shop, and we put up pallet racking.
That's always good to do that.
And it worked out because when I was transparent with customers, like, hey, before your car gets here, we're going to get these big parts that we know we need. We're going to get it on the shelf because the supply, you know, it takes me 2 or 3 months, which some things did, to get this. Like, there's no point in me having your car here to sit stagnant and us not be able to be productive or do anything with it.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about that. That is such a big thing. Everybody out there has probably experienced what we call body shop purgatory or shop purgatory, where you take your vehicle, you drop it off, and you don't see it for 1,000 years. And no work is being done and that kind of deal. How do you get around that? And how do you, because obviously you have a great clientele, you put cars out, how do you regulate that where something doesn't get caught? How do you keep projects moving forward for your customers?
Yeah, so that's always difficult. Again, I try to be transparent up front.
Very good.
Just to tell people, you know, this is where we're at. And also part of that transparency is me saying, look, like, this is roughly where I think we're at.
Yeah.
But the nature of our business is it's custom work. You know, it's not assembly line. And then two, there's so much scope creep in these, especially with the customer, wherein that we start digging into a vehicle, right? And then we find, well, you know, what do you think about this? This might need to be addressed.
Finding stuff that was hacked up before by somebody,
or rust that you don't ever see till you blast something. And then the second side of that is, you know, the scope creep from the customer. Right? Hey, while it's there, can you do this? Or I talked to my neighbor and he said, hey, what about this? I mean, we've had that happen all kinds of times. And sometimes it's in a good direction. Sometimes we got to kind of reel them back in a little bit, you know, and figure that out. But yeah, I just tell them this is where I think we'll roughly be at, but this can be pushed out very easily by some scope. Because I've got a Blazer right now in the shop that came in for a vintage air swap.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty cut and dry, easy.
Yeah, pretty simple deal, right?
And now it's a vintage air swap, and it's a harness and gauges, LS swap, transmission, transfer case,
Might
suspension.
as well put a tilt column from I Did It in there.
Yeah, right. I know all that. And it's like, but you know, I can't really do anything about that, and that's months of scope creep that just pushed my entire timeline out, right?
Now, when you see that starting to happen, do you pull the client aside and say, listen, we can do all this, but you realize this is going to add X amount of dollars?
Right. So, yeah, we'll usually kind of come up with an estimate. Again, everything we do is time and materials.
Absolutely.
As we build.
It has to be.
And I tell them that. But, for especially big jobs, because I understand you kind of want to get a ballpark idea where you're going to be at. So we'll try to put an estimate together and get, especially all the parts and materials, pretty close to a T. And then I'll try to swag the labor as best I can. But anytime we run into something, I'll communicate with the customer too. Like I send them some pictures. Hey, this is what we found. What do you think? And then if they come to me and say, yeah, we need to change this or add this, and let's do this LS or let's blah, blah, blah. Again, I think the communication and the being transparent up front really helps.
Communication is number one.
We do small jobs and full builds both. And
I tell you what, let's talk about that, the small projects and the big projects. A lot of people, when they see a custom shop, I know when I had my shop, people would come in and go, oh, you just do ground-up restorations. Or that's all they came with. And it's like, no, I can actually just do a front end swap. I can just do a vintage air install, that kind of thing. How do you regulate that? Because if you're in the middle of something, you probably have limited shop space. So a guy comes in and he's like, I just want a front suspension upgrade. How do you fit them in?
So I actually have a spreadsheet. I've got an engineering background.
Yeah, I saw that.
And project management. So pretty good with Excel. But I keep a spreadsheet for my entire schedule. And it's got, the customer information, the car information, overall, 5,000-foot view, work scope, and all that. And so I get a retainer deposit down, and that secures you a spot on our schedule. So it's got all that information. And I tell them, a lot of times we might be able to squeeze you in if we can. If we're waiting on something, but I can't guarantee that. But if we get an opening and we can, I'll call them and say, hey, here in a week or two, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of downtime. Can you bring your car over and we can throw this vintage area in?
Yeah.
But that comes back to where, like, we try to have those parts and stuff ordered. At least for the next 3 or 4
That's why you need
vehicles.
the deposit.
So the parts there, we got the parts, so that way we can say, yeah, just pull the trigger, bring it over, we can throw this in, we have the parts, and get it out.
And you still keep a control over it as the owner. In other words, you walk around, you watch all the projects, make sure your guys are doing what they're supposed to. That's very important. So you get too big, and the person who's kind of the quality control starts to get spread thin, and then things start going out the door that's not up to snuff.
Right, absolutely. And I'm very present. I'm there. So I'm usually there 30 minutes before we open, and usually 30 minutes or so after. It's changed. I was saying recently, I've got an 18-month-old.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you. He's already been to car shows, loves it. He goes to the lake with us. But that I definitely had to prioritize effectively my time because I have a lot more time than I'm spending with family now, which is great.
You have
versus
to.
the shop there. So that changed the dynamic a little bit, but you kind of just got to move and groove, and I've got a guy now that's kind of like a lead guy, so he can help manage some of the quality and some of the shop stuff where I'm still doing parts ordering and talking to customers and running to get cars and coming doing stuff like this.
So how big a crew do you have?
So right now we're actually kind of a little bit lean. I've got 3 guys starting though here, so I got a guy starting Monday, actually, and I've got 2 starting the following Monday after that.
Now, what's their specialty? Are they just overall guys? Are they is there one like a painter?
The guy starting this coming Monday, he's more on the body work and metal fab side.
Yeah.
So that'll be 2 guys kind of doing that, and I told the guy that's there currently.
And do you have your own paint booth and everything?
We don't have our own paint booth, so we have a bay in the shop that is closed off, and it's where we do all of our body work and our paint work. But we, as far as paint work, we don't do a whole lot. We'll paint chassis, engine blocks,
so you send it off to somebody else to get the paint work?
Yeah, so we have a shop in Alabama, Dynamic Speed and Custom. They're in Gaston, and all of our paint jobs, we'll do the body work and get them in like the last round of primer.
Yeah.
And we don't open them up. We don't sand them, just keep them sealed up in case they got to sit around our shop or sit around their shop for a little bit. And then we take it to them. They do the final sand. They spray it, cut and buff it, put it back together how it came, and then it comes back to us. But it's been a great relationship. Those guys are really good. They worked Big Oak Garage is a big shop. And so they worked for Will, and they kind of branched off and doing their own thing now. But like all those guys down there, man, it's wild in Alabama how many like super duper high end, very talented guys there are down there. But yeah, that's who we use, Dynamic Speed and Custom, and they've done a really good job for us.
All right, let's talk about another aspect of building a vehicle we were talking about a little earlier. Something that's really changed in the custom car building world over the last 10 years is the replacement chassis.
Yep.
I've done it long enough where you used to go out and get the Volare or the Nova
Mustang 2s and all
clips, and then it went to the subframes from Fat Man's and stuff. to the clips, and now you have complete replacement chassis from Roadster Shop and TCI.
Yeah, even for unibody cars, like Camaros and Mustangs, you can get a brand
Jeff
new
Schwartz
chassis.
is doing some awesome stuff with that. And that's completely changed how, and the cost and the time that it takes to build a vehicle. So how do you approach that with some of your customers?
When they come and we sit down and meet, like, hey, I need you to kind of really think about what you want to do with this car, how you want to use it. Are you wanting to go to car shows? You just wanting to get out and cruise it, drive it? You want to take it down Route 66?
Because the replacement chassis is $20 to $30,000, depending on who you go with.
Right.
And that's a big chunk right off the top.
Absolutely.
So they're like, whoa.
That, but too, if you're building a high-end car, just valuation of the car when it's finished, it's going to be, perception-wise and valuation-wise, it's going to be a nicer car. It's going to be worth more. You can say, hey, I've got a Scott's Hot Rods chassis,
absolutely,
a Roadster Shop, or a, you name it.
All right, let's talk about the, jumping right off of that, let's talk about the patina look, and because that's really popular now. And guys just building old stuff and just running it down the road. So like this old truck chassis here, somebody will throw that on and drive that down the road.
For sure, yeah.
So do you work on those kind of vehicles as well?
Yeah, we do. And one of the favorite cars I've ever owned personally was a 62 Chevrolet Bel Air station wagon.
Okay.
And it was patina. It was an Arizona car, had original paint, patina. It was great because we could pile in, drive it anywhere we wanted. It was lower disc brakes, vintage air, overdrive. I could jump up on the fender. We didn't have to worry about it. We just got in and took off. But no, I do like a patina car. We've worked on multiple patina vehicles, and I tell people too, like customers, depending on how they want to use it, right? If it's got decent paint, like it might make more sense for you to just kind of leave this paint.
Paint has gotten so expensive. We were talking about that. And honestly, this might be something that forces paint to come down a little bit if less and less people are doing it. I mean, it used to be a decent paint job was $3,000 to $5,000. Now you can't even start to get into them.
You can't even buy the material for that anymore if you start from scratch with epoxy primer all the way up. One of the biggest things I saw as far as a jump when COVID and things hit was the auto body supplies, like the primers, the fillers, the paints, and the reducers. I mean, it was wild how that skyrocketed so quickly. Yeah,
and it really hasn't come down.
No, it hasn't. But nothing has. I mean, I remember you could buy a crate because we were doing LS3s from Chevrolet Performance. I remember you could buy one of them, like a fully dressed, intake to oil pan motor. Like $8,000, and now they're over 10, and it hadn't even been that long, But that's just inflation, the way things have gone.
And I try to encourage people, even the guys that are doing the patina stuff, they still need the aftermarket. You still need parts from Ride Tech. You still need things from Vintage Air. You still, you need an Ident column or whatever. You may not do the whole thing. And so I encourage people to try to do that because, back in the day, you could go to junkyards and stuff. You can't do that anymore. The whole aftermarket has totally shifted, and I think that's really good. I got a question for you out there. If you're working in your shop, what kind of tools are you using? Now, you're probably going to go, well, whatever I got cheap, man. Are you kidding? Well, and that's the problem because, listen, we all grew up working with cheap tools. And my first set of tools, my dad got them at Kmart, got them for Christmas. And I used those things until there was nothing left. But that's all we had at the time. But as soon as I could, I started investing in good tools. And the reason it's not because you want to show them off to people, even though that's okay. It's because they allow you to do quality work. And there is nothing more frustrating. I have talked to gearheads all across the nation, around the world actually. And one of the biggest frustrations they have is either not having the right tool or breaking the tool they were using or having something strip or break or something. And almost every time it's because they don't have the right tool or they're not using a quality tool. So if you are into this, like I hope you are, you need to get some good tools, and that's where Cornwell Tools comes in. They're America's oldest tool manufacturer. They're still American-made. I think that if you are going to build some stuff, if you invest in a good set of tools right off the top, you don't have to get everything, but just get yourself a nice set of hand tools and work from there. You will never regret it. And you can pass them down to your grandkids or whatever if you want to. But most car guys want to hold on to their tools as long as they can. Anyway, if you get a chance, check out Cornwell Tools. You will not be disappointed. Do you guys do any newer stuff? And from newer, I say from like 90s on.
We
other
do.
than pickups.
Yeah,
Are we talking about import cars or?
So most of the import stuff we've done has been like LS swap or something like that.
Sure.
But really,
because that's the proper thing to do too.
Yeah, really we'll do, because I like some of the modern muscle stuff myself.
Yeah.
So we'll do some of that. Our bread and butter and our core is still, I would say we're 30s to 80s, but really, honestly, where people are spending money right now, for us at least, is probably 50s to 70s is the most common. But yeah, we'll work on newer stuff. We've worked on OBS trucks. Not long ago, we had a 2003 Mustang. We did Rytec coilovers. We did long tubes and X-pipe and different stuff like that.
That's a quick, easy project.
Yeah,
there.
but too, like, as you can talk about, the aftermarket kind of, in a sense, leads the way almost as a trend in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you noticed a trend of like the 30s cars? They've kind of fallen out of favor?
Yeah,
they're affordable.
I know. I hate it because I grew up street rod.
Absolutely.
So like me and Dad, like we always went to the NSRA shows back when they were pre-49. I've got a Model A myself that I've had. We finished it when I was 17. It's a
so you still have that?
I still have that.
You still have the 32 Chevy?
I did sell that.
That's a cool car.
That was a fun little car, and that really helped me kind of get.
I tell you what, green is a hard color to pull off too. You had a nice color on that.
Man, it was fun. I had a 6-speed in it, 456 gear, had a pretty hot little 327, and that car was not supposed to be anywhere near as nice as it turned out. So I started that when I was 19. I built the frame for it, 2x3 rectangle tubing. Yeah. I've got a junkyard T56. A lot of those parts were kind of junkyard / used that I put on that car. And it was just going to be, I want something I can beat on and just go have fun with, go to the drag strip, do burnout, stuff like that. And then I was going to paint it all like a matte color, and then it just kind of snowballed and became slick. But
and then
really
somebody came in and said, "Hey, here's a ridiculous amount of money for it."
So it left. The Model A I'll keep forever. And
you did that with your dad, right?
Yeah. And my dad built most of that car actually. And then
is he still around?
He is.
Good.
Yeah. So actually, they live right beside us, which is really nice. But
so he's always telling you, "Son, come on."
Yeah.
Do another.
He comes down to shop and supervises and hangs out some. But the C10 I wish I had back. We were talking about Copperhead earlier. And I was telling you I had that 67 C10. We bought it when I was 13 and restored it through like high school, and I drove it through high school and called like daily driver, like rain, sleet, snow, sunshine, everything. But I see it still. We go to the NSRA Street Rod Nationals in Louisville every year, and that guy's from Kentucky, and I still see it. And I always say, "You ready to sell that thing yet?" And he tells me I'll be the first one to know if he does sell it. But I still see it, and it looks pretty much the same as it did. So I would like to have that back. And back to your chassis thing, I would probably put it on a chassis and a crate motor, and just keep all the outside the way it is and was, even the interior, like it's all the way it was when I had it, but just make it a really fun driving vehicle. But I can't get him to come off of it yet. But it's one I didn't think I would really miss that much. And now that I've seen it, I was like, man, and I'm getting a little older, that'd be a cool one to have
that'd be a cool
back.
truck to have. Yeah. Okay. So, and I always like to ask this kind of question: if you could have any car, price is not an issue, what would it be?
Man, like that's hard to nail down.
It's a real hard
one
thing. So let's break it down a little bit. A hot rod.
Yeah.
So let's say from 1930 to 1940. Mm-hmm. What hot rod would you have?
Well, I've already got my Model A, so but
okay, so the Model A.
Yeah, but really, if I were going to build a hot rod, I would probably build a Model A on deuce rails.
Yeah,
and something like that. And actually, I would like to build something cool like that to take out to Pomona one day. Like Grand National Roadster Show.
Yeah,
I would like to build a cool little roadster. But the pre-war, especially the early '30s cars.
Yeah,
I really like. I always have
a chopped 32 sedan, buddy. Is the one for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cool. And with you remember like the old orange crate.
Yeah.
with the chopped fenders and stuff. Oh.
Yeah.
Or the little coffin. Just severely chopped, crazy stuff. Okay, so how about 50s cars?
50s.
Now we're starting to get into, could be a truck.
Yeah, right. No, probably a 56 car.
Yeah.
So a 210 post car.
56 Chevy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I like that. A lot of
those.
people don't jump to the 56.
Yeah, I know.
I like the 56.
The 55, 6, and 7s. I mean, everybody likes to try 5. Mm-hmm. I probably like the 56 best, then the 55, and then the 57 in that order. But I like those post cars. I like a post car in just about anything.
Yeah.
But a 56, like a 210. I don't like as much of the flashiness on the moldings and trim on the Bel Airs. I like the 210s or some of the 150s. Probably you were talking about Halibrands or something. Probably something like that.
Fat
kind of
Halibrands on it.
Hot rodish looking, kind of timeless look on that.
Yeah, yeah. I've always liked those. It's hard for me to choose. I mean, the 55 is so great.
Yeah.
Probably my least favorite's 57. You know, and that's the quintessential 50s car to a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
56 is right there. I love the two-tone of a 56. You know, it has just a great trim. Okay, so how about 70s?
70s.
Into like your muscle car era. Now it gets tough.
Yeah, that's I've always liked a 70 Chevelle.
Yeah.
And I'm a big full frame car anyway. I like a Camaro, a Mustang, or whatnot, but I do like the full frame, the A-body platform. So a 70 Chevelle probably. And as much as we do LS stuff around, and I love an LS, I'd want a big block car for sure.
Yeah, there's just something about them.
Yeah. A big block. Maybe put a 5-speed or 6 overdrive behind it, just make it drivable, but a big block Chevelle.
Yeah. The one I always liked of that body style, of the Chevelle body style, was the Buick GSX.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that big yellow one with a big wing on it. So fast, so much torque. But
it's funny too, like the old muscle cars in the mid '60s to early '70s. It was such a competition back then, and there were some pretty powerful cars, but the tires sucked.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
just wild if you look at pure numbers on some of those cars versus some of the newer modern muscle cars, and just like the power, the weight, the quarter mile times. It's like, man, those cars just. I don't know. They just weren't that fast they are compared to
they weren't.
now.
Now, if you put modern rubber on them, it'd be a whole nother thing. Those things would have scared you.
But there's something about just getting behind the wheel of those 4-speed car or whatnot and just driving it. And I like the big block. The big blocks sound so killer, and just the torque curve, and it's wild how that works. But I'd love to have one of those.
Are you into 4-wheel drive stuff at all? Jeeps?
So we built a Jeep Scrambler.
I saw a Land Cruiser on your
and we built a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
I've never been like a big 4-wheel drive guy. It's not that I hate it. I've only ever owned one 4-wheel drive truck in my entire life, which is weird being from Tennessee and all these.
I was just going to say, you just haven't been introduced to the dark side properly.
Yeah. Well, I was telling people I used 4-wheel drive, and that truck way more to launch on people street racing than I ever did.
Oh my gosh.
To like off road or whatnot. So we did a square body Blazer a while back. It was blue 2-tone LS3, blah blah, but it was 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Had a small lift, but that was really fun. That was a cool truck. I enjoyed it. But
well, that market's a different market, and like I said, there's a whole different world to that. And the 4-wheel drive world is kind of arguing with itself right now, anyway.
Yeah.
Because you've got the hardcore 4-wheel drive guys that take their stuff out and beat it, and then you've got like the mall cruisers.
Right, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just a nicer thing. Then you have kind of the ones in the middle. It's kind of the dune buggy thing where they like to zip it around, but it's got the big wide tires. It's more something you'd run down a beach. And whether it's a Jeep or the new Bronco or whatever, and they all are legitimate things. It's kind of like the street rod world.
Yeah.
Some people build more of a competition car, like a gasser sort of deal, to actually take down a drag strip. Other people just want to cruise it. Other people just want to show it.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it, really. In the street rod world, or the truck world, or the Jeep world, is that like you kind of put your own personality into it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it cool. Because if they were all red '69 Camaros with torque thruster, if they were all, you're looking at the same thing. So that's what's neat, is being able to see people's personality and work with them to get to what they get their dream car, right?
Yeah, and to have people, I would tell them at shows all the time. It's like, listen, you may not like it, but just go over and appreciate it.
Yeah.
And find out where that guy's coming from. And every time they're like, gosh, I really like that car now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's the thing for us, too. Like, all these cars are the baby, and we got to remind ourselves of that, even if it's not quite the style we would want to do or this and that. Like, this is this guy's, like, they're just his prized possession, or this lady's prized possession, and this is exactly what they want. And when they pick it up, they got a big smile on their face, and they're loving it and enjoying it. And that's what matters.
That right there, I hope you guys caught that, because I'm going to repeat that. It's the customer's vehicle. And so many shops get in there and they have a frustrated designer or a wannabe, foos or whatever, and they're like, I have to give you my interpretation of what your car should be. And every time I've seen people do that, the customer leaves unhappy because they didn't get the car they visioned or that they wanted. It's not the right color, or it's not, whatever. So that's so great that you do that. And I can see why your clients like you, because it's ultimately their car or their truck,
and you can still kind of steer them in the right direction.
Oh, you got to steer them off the cliff.
But we want to and that's why both the way the car looks, aesthetics, right? That's why I tell them, like, you need to tell me how you're going to use this, what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get to talking to their neighbors and friends and a little too much. And
absolutely,
I'm like, what do you want to do with this thing? Well, I just want something I can cruise around in on Saturday, Sunday, and you're going to like autocross it, race it? No, nothing like that. But they want like a 572 or something, or like some big twin turbo, and it's like we can do
1,000
that.
horsepower. Yeah,
but I don't think you
it.
know what the drivability of a big cam car is like, number one, and two, it's not really, to me, it's not spending your money most effectively, because that's going to be a pretty big purchase, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where we could kind of scale this back a little bit, get something that probably drives a little better, don't have to worry about cooling problems, that kind of thing. Still hits a good lick, sounds good, does everything you're going to want and more, and do it for a better price, and then we could put that other money and kind of allocate it
absolutely
a little better. So
absolutely. Let's talk about where you're going forward with your shop. Okay, so you're building things, you're building cars that can drive, you're building high-end cars. How about show cars? Because, you send some stuff out there, you won awards. How important is that now? How much has that changed?
Yes, I mean, obviously that just adds to the credibility of the shop, right?
Yeah.
Which is good.
And it's changed because you don't have magazines anymore. So
Right.
it's kind of if you win the shows or what it sells for at auction. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. Oh, a Smithson car brought X amount of dollars, and they all run to you.
Yeah, kind of the pedigree, right, of the vehicle. And
Yeah.
part of that is, when we finish the higher end build. So we try to take it out and get it to the right shows and get it in front of the right people to just see what to do. We go to a lot of the good guy shows in SRA, and there's so many shows out now. You can go to multiple shows in the weekend, multiple big shows.
Yeah, that is. I had a guy approach me one time, and he was like, I want you to build me a car that'll win the Riddler. And I said, I can get you to the Riddler, but winning the Riddler, that's a whole nother thing. There's politics involved. There's things they look for. I said, you can't guarantee somebody is going to win one of these big shows. And I see, and a lot of those sort of clients can be really difficult because they have a lot of money, and they're like, I want the big trophy.
Yeah.
And you can do the very best, and it just doesn't win. And that's how it's the way those go. And that's why I try to steer people away from that. It's like, that's really not enjoying the cars.
Right.
Let's build you something that you can take out and drive and enjoy, and you take it to a show and do a great job. The guy I sold the V8 Interceptor to, the Cougar, he goes, yeah, I took it down to the show and I won best of show with it. I was like, well, that's not really what you're supposed to do with it. I hope you drove it there. And I said, quit putting that car in there. That's not fair.
But it comes back to what the customer wants and how they want to use it. But
yeah,
we, as far as the high end Riddler stuff, we've not had anyone with that kind of car that they want to do. Not to say that we would turn them down, but I would have to really have some in-depth conversations and kind of feel the customer out and stuff like that. But I do, because I've always grown up driving cars, and I do enjoy getting them out and cruising around and taking them to show. I mean, I've got a station wagon. It's a 70 Chevrolet Kingswood, and man, we've driven that thing everywhere and just enjoyed it. I love a good wagon.
Yeah,
we've done Cruising the Coast in it. We've done Good Guys Columbus in it. We've done Power Tour twice. But I do enjoy driving it, getting to meet
That's
people.
That's what it's all about,
so.
man. But then once the show thing's over, they still have to enjoy it, either that or sell it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of them try to sell it, and then they realize they can't get their money back out of it, which
you see that
was never what that was about.
Yeah.
So,
but some people also, they like the build process.
Yes.
So they like working, and again, I guess it's putting their own personality, their own swing on things. So the build, because especially those high end cars, I mean, these build process, it ain't like it's a 6-month thing. You and the builder are like this. For
and they're
years,
calling
right?
you at 10 o'clock at night, going, "Hey!"
So, but they enjoy that, and then they get it done, take it out, and get some hardware, get some pedigree, and then sell it on to the next one, kind of thing.
So what's the future for you guys?
So again,
just keeping on what you're doing?
Keep building hot rods and stuff. We actually my marketing and sales guy just put us a Shopify store together, and we literally just launched that recently. So we're going to try to start slinging some parts. We've gotten to where we do so much business with, the Wheelwood and the Painless, American Auto Wire, Ride Tech, you name it.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, we're a dealer for all these guys. Maybe we should kind of try to start slinging some parts. So that's what we're doing is trying to work with them, figure out what their high volume stuff is, kind of figure out what we use and sell a lot of. We are a little different from the big box stores where we install all this. From a technical side, if you have issues, we can help steer you in the right direction or work you through that. And two, part selection, because there's so many of the small parts that you just don't know you need until you're in there and you're like, I forgot this. I need to order this. So I feel like we can help a lot on that, where you order all these parts once and they get to your door, and now you're ready to take off, and you don't have to worry about, well, we forgot this, or we got to go order that, or we got, so.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I was just talking to a guy just a few days ago, and he comes up to me. I was at the big Cobra show, and he goes, "Where are the speed shops in Tennessee?" He said, "Where do I go to get that sort of thing?" And I was like, I honestly can't tell you. There's a lot of shops around, but they're builder shops and that kind of thing. He was talking about, remember those super shops and those places where you could
there
go
was
to
one back home. It was Mike's Speed Shop for the longest time.
Where you go in and buy parts and stuff. So that is obviously the next thing. I mean, we're even doing that kind of stuff with parts and things, because that's what a lot of my time is spent on, where people will write in and say, okay, I want to do this. What is this involved? Well, that's a long conversation a lot of times. So you don't just bolt it on. You need this. Right.
And it's hard to capture the nuts and bolts of that in 30 minutes or an hour, right? It's just there's so much detail and so many little things behind the scenes that you don't see, and it's not super glamorous, but it's got to happen.
It's got to happen. And a lot of times something you will say will foster 3 or 4 more questions. So they're like, oh, well, wait a minute, I need a regulator? So what, and what fuel line should I be running? And it just can just go down the rabbit hole.
Well, there's so much complexity to, I mean, you build a car from scratch. I mean, there's so many moving parts that, and again, it's one of those things that you kind of, if you don't know, you don't know, right? Yeah. That's where I feel like people can kind of get bogged down. And even I've seen projects stall and get pushed aside and then finally sold just because you get to these roadblocks and you don't really know which direction to go. What am I missing? What do I need to do next? And that's where I feel like we can do that, because, I mean, we do small stuff, but we do turnkey full build, so we know what that looks like pretty much across the board. And the vendors we work with are so good, and the quality of the parts, the customer service, so it kind of just makes sense to me to try to reach out and start doing that. So,
That's nice.
We just finished that up. It's just literally SMITHSONSPEEDParts.com, and we'll see how that goes.
Perfect. And we'll probably do something with you guys on the show. I'd like to do I've got this hot rod coming up. I'd love to have your hands on it. It'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we're doing it as a tribute to the hot rod industry.
Yeah, awesome.
So it'd be great to have your name on there.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you let me know.
Sounds good. Listen, thanks for dropping by. You're welcome anytime. It's been great.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
All right, that's our show for today, which means you need to get out there and start working on something. Spend some time turning wrenches. You might be surprised how much you like it. Make sure you check out our website, StaceyDavid.com, because we've got all kinds of new products and some other great stuff that you're just going to love. Also, make sure to check out our social media. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Official Stacey David. Our social media is where you're going to find all of the bonus content, the giveaways, the contests, the trivia. We even have extra viewer projects that focus on what you are working on. Also, the new season of Gears will be on MAV TV, and YouTube will be the place that you can view all of your favorite Gears episodes, as well as the full project builds that follow the project from beginning to end. Make sure to check out our new Gears coffee cars. This is a unique blend of coffee and cool stickers to collect that will appeal to anyone.
But the most important thing is get out there and turn some wrenches yourself. Get a project, start working on it, and if you don't have tools, check out Cornwell. They can help you out there.
All right, that's all the announcements. We're all up to date. We'll see you next time.